morning, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. It's wonderful to see everybody here today, members and friends and family. And thank you very much for appreciating our images. Everyone has put in a lot of hard work into their images in digital and prints. And we just hope you will appreciate them and like them. So tonight on display, we have 73 monochrome images. The judges will now like to comment on the monochrome.
I'll now talk about 236. This is quite nostalgic. I felt that this had the lighting from the 30s, 40s era. So you've got this, I don't know if you're using continuous light. It looks like a continuous light rather than a flash. But what is great about this particular shot, if you look at the detail in the hat, it hasn't been lost in shadow. So you can see that the top of the hat, there's also the rim of the hat. The hands, even though the shadows are strong and it's intense and it's dramatic, there's also this softness with the hand and the shadow that's going down the body. So for me, it's a fashion shot. Particularly that she's not looking at camera, we're looking at the hat. I'm not sure if it's the lingerie that we would be looking at or whether it's the hat. The hat also gives it a nostalgic retro look, a vintage look. And the model is using her hands and arms very well in this particular shot, because if she's not a professional model, that's the area that most models are very clumsy. They don't know what to do with their hands, and we normally have to put props and things in. This particular model is, because her hand is back to her chest, again you're looking at the outfit that she's wearing, which is the bra, the shadowing here, and then the strong light. It's a bit of a horse to me. Actually, there's a couple of horses around, so yeah, that's really well done. That really is a beautiful nostalgic fashion shot, so really interesting shot. Actually, a lot of photographers have used shots where the face is covered, and so immediately there's mystery. So you're wanting to find out what's the story behind this. Nellie looks, I don't know whether she's wearing a Muslim burqa. I'm not sure whether it was just an artifact, but it's got a lot of crackling, so there's special effects have been put over on top of the image to give that feeling of decay or some. There's a lot of there's tension there. There is definitely tension. Now, because the light is coming through from the side, all the draping has got beautiful texture, so that there's lots of lovely lines. And again, it draws you to her hands. Because her face is hidden, then we're looking for something else. We're looking for what's going on. So we're looking for the story, and then we come to the hands, and then the hands are laying on her lap very peacefully, and there's no tension in the hands. So it goes against that, you know, we've got crackling up here, so there's tension up here, but then we've got all this gentle draping, and then we've got hands that are just very peaceful. So there's the mystery behind of the woman. I'm assuming it's a woman, and the vignetting is bringing our focus completely on the centre of that image. It's very powerful. I would have liked it without the special effects. I think that her in herself has got a lot of storytelling. There's a mystery, and she's hiding from us. So there is that. We're trying to reason what is she hiding. So yeah, very well done.
Agreed.
Great image.
Okay, 157. I'm going to be very honest here and say that this was a front runner to Image of the Year.
Yes.
But I want you to come and look at it because it's really important to see that unfortunately the image is degraded. And I don't know if it's a texture that's been overlaid. I don't know if it's just been post-processed just that little bit too much. Have a look at her nose. Her nose has a grey mark on it. Her breasts have a grey mark on it. And it's so much so that we believe that it's a fault in the image. The lighting is fabulous. Look at that striking hair and how she's separated from the background. So the skill is there. The photographer has the skill to light a woman in a beautiful way. She is posed in a beautiful way. The composition is very central. There's little bits of leaves. Again, I don't know if that's overlaid or if it's part of the initial image. The image is there, but it's just starting to fall apart, which is such a shame. And really, come and have a look. So when we're in a judging situation and we've got to find the photograph of the year, we're looking at everything. And it was just so obvious to us that we just had to pull it up. And we wanted to point it out and say to this photographer, you've got it going. You're doing such a good job. Now start to look at why you're getting these faults in the images, work out why, and try and rectify it.
Going from that, I'll come up to 163. This particular one. This, I just looked at this, I thought Madonna, horse be horse, it has that feel. So I love it. But then when you start looking at the image, there's all these other little interesting things. She has a nose ring through her nose, so I started looking at fine detail like that. She's got an interesting peacock tattoo. So, and the reason why I could see all this detail is from the lighting that's coming from the back, and it's creating these beautiful shadows from her back. This area here, we've got less lighting, so this is the area that the eye will go to straight away. She has got this lovely drape. And Horse Be Horse, his image that he did like this was back in 1939, called The Corset. Do you remember that? Do you know that shot? She's wearing a corset. Madonna did it for Vogue. So it's got that feel. And one thing that Horse Be Horse would say is to make an interesting image, you always need a little mess. And the little mess is like the little ruffle. He said if you have it that it's too clean and clinical, it becomes boring. So, and that was his philosophy. And considering that he had a career of something like 60 years in the industry in advertising and fashion, he obviously knew his stuff. So again, this area here is all lit up well, so we tend to look at that. Possibly for me, I would have toned that down just a fraction, because you don't want, again, all the texture, even though that's beautiful, that does compete with this area here, and I feel that the model herself and her beautiful skin and this area here is the subject. Although, if this was an image that was selling this beautiful material, absolutely spot on. This is what you would do. This is what they do in fashion or in industries. When we don't want the model, even though the models are stunningly beautiful, that is why we get them to look away from camera or put hats on them or light up an area so that the viewer goes straight to the dress and not to the model's face. So, so just consider when you're shooting what is going to be the area that you want people to look at first, okay? But beautiful shot, well done. I'll talk about Alice in Wonderland. I really love composited shots. Being a specialist of them myself and being featured in the digital magazines, I know how much work goes behind these. I've worked 2 weeks just on one section of a photo to get everything in hair and etc. So I know that, and they can be extremely large images and they can look quite simple. I love the fact that Alice is not looking at camera, so we're looking at her journey. Where's she going? We know that it's, well, if you know the story of Alice, you know that it's Alice because it's a typical blue dress that Alice would wear. But in this case, Alice is looking like she's just stepped in Salvador Dali's painting. So there's the clock, only it's not warped. We've also got little rabbit here, we've got a sign, we've got information coming up here, teapot, etc. One thing that you do need to be careful of, if you're taking composites, you really have to think about, because this is a composited road, you need to have it looking in the right perspective to the information that you're going to use. Now, when you go on location and shoot a road that's going to be composited into this, into your shot, if you're not sure, take a series of shots. So go, I'd say this was just shot from waist length. You need to get down, shoot low, get up, shoot high, go to the side, shoot to the side, go midway, shoot again. When they're doing 3D or CGI art, this is what we have to do, and I've done this sort of stuff. So you really need to have lots and lots of composites, lots of different heights, and you've got to think about the time of the day and make sure your shadows and everything is correct. At this, the way I'm looking at it, yes, shadows correct. A little bit of overshadowing here, so when you put the shadow, that's the dead giveaway on a composited image. Shadows actually start losing, because of the inverse square law, you actually start losing light. So you've got shadowing happening here, but you've got a lot of darkness here. So this is an area that you would need to, I would go back and redo the shadowing of the feet, whoever did this. If you've got another image of the rabbit, I'd put an image of the rabbit that's got 2 ears rather than 1 ear, because it's a little bit difficult to, I mean, yes, you can sort of guess that it's a rabbit, but I would make that look a little bit more like a rabbit. Because he's white, especially because he's white, that is the reason why I would make him look that he's more of a feature. When he's only got 1 ear and his head's poking this way and there's no eye, which you don't need to have an eye, but I think if he had 2 ears and a bit more of a bunny tail, that would have been a lot more interesting to look at. When it just becomes a white blob with 1 ear, you tend to look and it's like there's something awkward. Unless that's what you wanted us to feel, then that's great. But yeah, well done. So just watch with your compositing that you've not got roads that look odd, even though it is a surreal image. But well done.
Okay, number 161 up here. Very Mona Lisa-like. We were very attracted to it at the time. Again, good lighting. The hair is separated. The thing that we wanted to point out though, we're attracted to the brightest part of the image, which just happens to be there on the dress. And so instead of looking at that beautiful face, we kept getting drawn down to the dress here. And I think it was this image. There are a few images that we wanted to point out. I said, an hour ago, we must print our images, and I stand by that comment. But when we print it, if we get, banding, reprint. Clean the heads on the printer, reprint. If you've gone to a printer and they've printed it and it comes back and you're not happy with it, tell them. don't sit back and complain about it. Sit back and say something to them and say, look, I'm not happy with the quality of the print. It's really important, especially with the inkjet prints. And there's a number of images here which are really, really strong. The subject matter is strong, but the print quality is letting it down. So just be wary of that when you're actually going to print. And I'm quite sure that it was this one, there's a couple that had a bit of banding through it. So keep an eye out on that. Right, I'll go here for number 167. And both Penelope and I were really intrigued by the shapes. The shape of the parasol, that flowing shape of, it doesn't even look like a gown, it looks like it could just be fabric. You've got the model pose, you've got that complementary colours happening, there's texture over the top. And why is it up here? Print quality. The print quality let this image down. And again, we were looking at these images going, print of the year. It's a print competition. Everything has to work, not only what's in the image, but the presentation as well. So this was very well received. We really enjoyed it, but there was banding lines, which was just it's like, no. Sort of kicking ourselves up the backside. This one for me was a real standout because I believe that it's a composite image. I believe that the elements have been photographed individually and then put together in the computer, and I think it's been done very, very well. You can read into it. It's one of those images that there's a story there, and the story for me might be different to the story that you get. But the fact that it's a very horizontal composition, the way that our lines are really running from left to right, even the birds are going left to right. The thing that I enjoyed most was that I was told to stop because of the placement of that tree. So I was reading that way, stop, and I kept going back. There's even a couple of little figures down there, so that human element has been brought in. And it's, again, one of those images that I could see really big on the wall, and I would love to see it really big. Love the quality of the texture that's in it. It's really beautiful. And that's why I also wanted to point out, I believe that it has a texture overlay. And I don't know if many of you are doing that or not. Sometimes when you've taken a texture, whether it's a natural texture or not, there can be little areas that just don't work, and part of that texture looks like a scratch. That could easily be cloned out, and so I'm not looking at that scratch so much. I mean, you've got little scratchy elements, but sometimes there's a little scratch element that looks too obvious. So it would just be a little tiny clone out there, but that's a very lovely image.
Okay. I'll talk about this one. To me, this is would be great as an advertising shot, particularly if it was for a jeweler. We've got some highlight on the lips, so we've got very sensuous-looking lips. So in advertising, sex sells. Even though there is some information here, it's been darkened, and that works. There is still a bit of texture that's in the hat, so that it's not an area which we would say is dead. There's great texture coming through the hat, and even through this white brim. If you come up close, you can see there's texture coming through that brim. We don't know who she is. She's a mystery lady, and her the way the shadow is, again, it's pointing, and even that little bit of highlight that's on her chin, it's actually very similar to the roundness of all these, I don't know if they're pearls, but I'll call them pearls. So the pearl necklace. Again, I don't know whether there was more information down here it's just starting to cut a little bit into her necklace. And if that was an advertising shot, you'd need to probably bring this down a little bit further here and give me more information, because this is, to me, is the subject. it's around this area. So we didn't need so much information up there. Whoever did the makeup on the lips, beautiful. The little specular highlight that's been placed on the lips, generally that's something that professional makeup artists do, and a lot of, and we do it on models. Again, it's to give the lips a more sensuous 3D form, and that's what we've got here. The skin is looking lovely, and if this was an advertising shot for a necklace, it's really, you just about hit the mark. But maybe in print there is a little bit more information there.
I just wanted to say our judges were very much taken by especially one of our members, who unfortunately is not here today. It's Ray Baker. Out of the 15 images up there, is 8 images from Ray Baker.
We didn't know that.
And the judges didn't know any names because they were not shown the names or anything, so they must have been taken. Ray Baker has really very, very nice work, and I will mention to him and find out that if he has printed some images somewhere else to make sure to correct the printing. And another thing I wanted to say, wonderful audience. They're so beautiful and quiet and listening and concentrated. So Maria, it's your turn.
I'm sure everyone's enjoyed tonight. It's been a wonderful night, and I won't be too long because I know it's getting on now. It's my pleasure to introduce to you the colour print section of our annual awards night. As you can see, we have an amazing selection all round of the 89 colour prints on display. Our members' love and enthusiasm for photography comes through in these amazing images. And I've got a quote here from Ansel Adams. "You don't make a photograph just with the camera. You bring to the act of photography all the pictures you have seen, the books you have read, the music you have heard, and the people you have loved." Now, the awards will be presented by Frank Danaher. Okay, the second prize in the colour print goes to Ray Baker for The Lighthouse, which is image number 170. Unfortunately, Ray's not here tonight. He's not very well.
On your Ray.
Yeah.
You be right today.
On your Ray. Put all your presents. Not even
Thanks very much, Frank. And now... I'll call on Bob Shaw to come up and present the prize for the colour print of the year. Oh, okay, because he was the sponsor. Of course.
Thanks, Frank.
Okay, now the colour print of the year for 2015 goes to Sue Robertson for Journey, which is image number 177.